How's it going? Good. I'm excited to be here. This is my first time speaking in New Hampshire. And I took a picture of the hotel when I was driving up, and I put it on Facebook. And I woke up this morning kind of freaked out. I already struggle with mental health challenges, but I was freaked out because the room was real cold. Somebody had left the window open. And on Facebook, one of my friends commented that this was the hotel from The Shining. And I was... So, I'm kind of a little anxious up here, just to let you know. I'm excited to be up here regardless. A few things about me before we start. I gotta be totally honest with you about something. I cannot sit through a keynote speech. Just gonna be honest. I've even seen some of mine on video where people said I did really good. I can't sit through my own speech. Okay? I'm one of those people, I'm gonna be totally honest. I gotta check my phone and start texting, look at Facebook, So I wanna be honest with you and say it's okay if you need to take your phone and start texting. It's totally cool. All that I ask is that you at least have the decency to go to my Facebook page and like it. Or send me a tweet on Twitter. But you can text away, you don't have to even make eye contact with me. The other thing I want to say to you is I'm not a resident service coordinator, so I don't really know your world. I've been trying to talk to people. I met a few of you last night. You were all very kind enough to chat with me and tell me about some of the challenges you go through, but I really don't know your world, so I'm trying to do my best to understand it, and I encourage any questions that you might have. We're going to take questions at the end. Before I start, I got to tell you about my pet situation. We're having pet drama. I'm still recovering from the loss of my hamster. It's not funny. He was my pet and my friend. And he was a dwarf hamster. He was about 2 inches big, and he died back in October. And I sit on the board for a national nonprofit, and I was actually at my home in the board meeting on the phone when I walked into the kitchen and little Richard Gere had died. And that was his name. He didn't know why. He didn't go on Snopes and look it up. So I came to the kitchen and I was upset because my hamster died, and I'm the chairman of fundraising for the country, and I have to present about fundraising, and my hamster's dead. And so I gave a quick speech about how things are doing with donations and stuff, and it was really sad. And my fond memory of my hamster was going to the vet. It was my first time ever going to a vet. They're like little hospitals, they're kind of cool. And vets are overpriced, by the way. I had to pay, I'm not going to say how much, for a physical for my hamster. And the physical consisted of weighing him in a cereal bowl. Like, seriously? Could I use my postage scale? But my hamster, he had something in his eye. So he said, he's like this with just one eye closed, and I'm like, oh man, something's not right with you. So I took him to the vet. And it was really funny. So the vet picked him up and was very nice to him, and he had rubber gloves on, and he tried to hold my hamster, and my hamster bit him. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah! It's my hamster, right? And then he asked a nurse to come into the room to help him. So you have now 2 people trying to restrain my Jewish hamster. So little Richard Gere bites her. And she was trying to have good customer service. She left the room, and I hear her in the hallway saying she's not going back in the room with that hamster. That's my hamster. And then finally they get 2 more people in there. So I got 3 adults restraining my 2-inch hamster. And they even put like a little scarf around him too. And they had to shut the lights on him and put a mag light on him. And part of me thought, this is funny, but I started to get anxiety. I started to really get anxiety in my chest. And I'm like wondering why, why am I getting anxiety? And I realized it reminded me of being in a psychiatric ward and seeing other patients get restrained. And I decided at that moment, I can never go back to the vet ever again. I just can't ever go through that. And so that's one of the reasons I'm having trouble with the loss of my hamster, because it brought up a lot of feelings about my past for me. So today I'm going to talk to you about this thing called stigma in mental health. Now, stigma is a word you hear a lot nowadays. In fact, it's kind of sexy to put it on something, right? Presentations about stigma. And I think a lot of times people really don't know what it means, so I want to talk to you about that. In our society, we are comfortable with talking about issues with people as long as they are from the neck down, okay? You will see that, celebrities put their mastectomies online now. But anything from the neck up, we're really uncomfortable talking about as a society. I was in Los Angeles and a few weeks ago, and I went to Sizzler. I love going to Sizzler. People like, Mike, you can go to nicer places. I'm like, no, I like my cheap Sizzler steak. And I'm sitting there trying to eat my little cheap Sizzler steak, and I see on TV that in Fort Hood there was another shooting, and people talking about mental health again. And the only time we're okay talking about this mental health thing is when something happens. So the reason I'm here is because I care about all of you, and I know that you probably deal with people who have mental health challenges, and many of you have your own mental health challenges. So I'm here today because I care about you. I don't know you, but I really care about you, and I want you to hear me out. So even though I'm not a resident service coordinator, can you at least listen to where I'm coming from? Can you do that? So stigma, in my mind, is when people judge you, make negative assumptions about you, or discriminate against you because you're different. Or it's when you think negative things about yourself, or judge yourself, or discriminate against yourself because you think you're different. And I want to talk to you about transforming this stigma surrounding mental health into a strength. I was on Facebook. I love going on Facebook. And they have these things called infographics. People put up little pictures with words. And I'll never forget the day that I saw this. It was this 4-part picture, like an old cartoon in the newspaper. And in box number 1, it said, if you have a cold, and you put that on Facebook, feeling sick today with a frown, people will comment, feel better, take echinacea. In box number 2, it said if you have a broken arm, people will sign your cast. In box number 3, it said if you have to get surgery, people will come visit you. They might even give you a card or a little stuffed animal. And in box number 4, it said that if you have mental health issues, people get far away from you. Well, my name is Mike Veny, and I struggle with mental health issues. If you need to get far away from me, the door's right there. I've struggled my whole life with it. And people always ask me, what's it like? For those who haven't had it, sometimes people think it's stress. And I just need to work on my stress level. And it's not. So I'm going to compare it to one of my favorite things in the world, the kitchen. I love food. So I'm going to introduce you to my kitchen now. And by the way, if you ever come visit me in New York, I'll show you my kitchen in my apartment, and I'll probably make you food. But this is my real kitchen. My real kitchen has this giant oven. And I'm not talking like a oven from Sears. I'm talking like a Viking. It's a real chef's oven here. And there are 4 burners. And each burner is turned up to pretty high heat. And there are 3 frying pans and a stock pot. In frying pan number 1 is my obsessive compulsive disorder. You said something to me the other day, and I cannot stop thinking about it. In frying pan number 2 is my anxiety. I've got a few hundred people in front of me, and I can feel it right now in my chest. In frying pan number 3 is my anger. I'm getting angry. And right here is a stock pot. And I take the ingredients from each frying pan, put it in the stock pot. close the lid. That thing's about to boil over. But the best part about my kitchen, I can never get out of it. I'm stuck in it forever. In fact, I'm standing on stage in front of you, and I'm stuck in it right now. I can't get out of it. The cool part about it is it's like a fun house because there are mirrors everywhere. I've got curved mirrors, slanted mirrors, because everything is about me and everything's distorted. My mental health challenges have made it difficult for me to have relationships with people. It's made dating very difficult. And at the end of the day, I just want to connect with people, but yet I push them away because I'm really afraid of people. People say to me all the time, you seem like an extrovert. I'm really afraid of people. I think all of you are going to hurt me. And so I protect myself. So it's really been hard to live my life with these challenges, yet I've also learned to celebrate them at the same time and say this is a part of who I am. Stigma for me is a little bit different. When I tell people I have mental health challenges, they say, Michael, you speak well. You know, you're the CEO of your own company. You travel the world. You know, you go to parties, you fundraise. How do you have challenges? Well, they come in all different forms. You can't describe it physically what mental health challenge is. It's in your mind. So I want you all to keep that in mind. So some of the residents that you work with, I'm sure, have mental health challenges. Some of you might have it. And it's important to address them and talk about them. And I'm going to give you some more thoughts on that in a moment. You know, people always ask me when it started. You know, what did my parents do? We always go back into my upbringing. And for me, I just remember the fact that I was different than everyone else and I was defiant. And if people made me angry, you know, I had to flip out. It started with Catholic school. No, my parents put me in Catholic school because they figured the nuns would straighten me out. So I'll never forget the day I was sitting at my desk and Sister Pat confronted me. She told me to wipe the smile off my face. And I just tend to be one of those people that smile a lot. And I was sitting in the back of the class. I'm one of those people that's always in the back of the room smiling, you know, the troublemakers. But I wasn't doing anything. I swear I wasn't. So, the one time I wasn't, right? so I was smiling. I'm in 4th grade now. And Sister Pat told me to wipe the smirker off my face. And I said, no. I mean, you know how that works in class. Everyone's like, ooh. And then we started getting into it back and forth. And then she grabbed my arm and said, I'm taking you out to the office. And I punched her. I said, don't touch me. And everyone's, and she threw holy water on me. She called me the devil. So I took some of that holy water and threw it back at her. I said, put this on your wrinkles. I was shortly expelled from school thereafter. And my parents, they had to talk with me. They had to talk. They said, Mike, we got to talk about how you talk to adults. And, you know, you're not supposed to do that. And I said, Mommy, Daddy, nobody has a right to talk down to me. And I will stand up for myself. They said, okay. And even now, I'm 35 years old. No one has a right to talk down to me. And I found that it became a strength for fundraising because I have no problem approaching anyone because we're all equals. So shortly after that, my parents had another idea. Again, my good parents trying to help me out here, figure out what's going on with this kid. They put me in public school with my uncle, who was the principal. He was trying to grow his career, educational administration, and within a few weeks I was kicked out of that school. I had thrown a desk at a teacher this time. I was angry. And I didn't know what was wrong. I just knew that I just exploded sometimes. Things made me mad. And after that summer, the movie Batman came out with Michael Keaton, for those of you that remember. This is before Christian Bale. Jack Nicholson was the Joker. And I saw the movie with my family, we had fun, but I came home, and for the first time, I exploded like a volcano. I destroyed my parents' home. I was angry, I didn't know why. No one knew why. Just throwing stuff everywhere. The police were outside, and I was hospitalized for the first time. So here I am, a fourth grader, in this thing called a psychiatric ward that's supposed to help me get better. Green walls everywhere. I can't tell my friends. My parents couldn't tell anyone, but all the other kids knew. They knew something was up with me. I was that kid that no parent wanted their kids hanging out with. And so it wasn't easy for me. And I was discharged after a few weeks. Then they put me in 5th grade in special education. They said, Mike, maybe you need attention. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I do. In fact, I got this pink sparkle phone. I need attention. I'm not gonna lie. This thing is great, right? And I discovered something in special education. I discovered that I liked tapping my pencil on my desk. It made me feel good. And I would always ask to play drums, and the teacher said, well, we'll see. You need to behave, get X amount of stars, right? Got one of those systems. And so I started playing drums in the 5th grade. It was very fun for me. Every time I went to go play the drums, I felt good. I felt happy. Away from the drums, I was a tornado. And I started to actually mature faster than the girls. So now I'm 10 years old, and usually around that age, the girls are maturing first and the guys are going after that. But I was like that tall kid in class. It's going past everyone. And so my emotions were just going like a lazy river inside of me. And I started to get really depressed, and I became suicidal in 5th grade. And I tried to take my own life. And if it wasn't for my mom rushing me to the hospital to get my stomach pumped, I wouldn't be alive today. I noticed at that point that I had a gift for speaking, because somehow at 10 years old, I talked my way out of being put back in the psychiatric ward. Don't know how I did it. Fast forward to 7th grade. They put me in a private school. Things were going a little better for me. I was drumming more, but it started to get explosive. Now I'm bigger. So my parents really couldn't handle me flipping out, throwing things, trying to fight them, threatening to kill them, cutting myself. So I was hospitalized for about 4 or 5 months in 7th grade. And it's hard when you're hospitalized for mental health reasons, because you cannot tell people. If I had broken my leg, if I had a major surgery, I would have gotten a card from everyone at school that says feel better, right? I never got that. Friends just thought I was away with family or doing something. My parents couldn't talk about it. They didn't feel comfortable talking about it. And what do you say? And for a parent, it's hard, because parents judge other parents and feel judged, so they're thinking they're bad parents. So 10th grade comes around. I'm fast forwarding here so you don't have to hear my whole life story. And I'm on my 3rd expulsion, my 3rd hospitalization. I think I was friends with everyone in the emergency room. I knew everyone's name. It was kind of like, hey, how you doing? It's constantly in there. My dad had to constantly take me there. And my mom said to me, look, we got to figure out a school situation for you. We just want you to graduate. You can graduate and go crazy if you want. That's fine. They just want me to get out of high school. That was the goal. So, being defiant me, I said, no, I don't want to graduate. And they said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to play the drums all day. My dad said, you are not playing drums all day in my house. And I said, why not? He said, because I'll get arrested. You got to go to school. So I said, screw you, buddy, get arrested. So my mom said, look, Michael, what do you want? If we could give you anything you wanted. My parents were desperate at this point. You know, they just wanted their kid to be okay. They didn't even care that I flipped out. I think they thought it was funny at that point. And I said, I just want to play the drums. It's the only thing that makes me happy whenever I play the drums. Whenever I play the drums, it makes me happy. And so moms are very sneaky, by the way, right? Y'all are sneaky. They're always up to stuff. And so my mom says to me, give me a week to figure this one out. Okay. So I'm very impatient, type A, the whole week. Mommy, what's going on? Mike, we'll talk about it in a few days. Tell me! No, we'll talk about it in a few days. So the week comes around, and she said, I think I found an answer for you. Would you be okay with playing drums for half the day? I said, yes. And she found a performing arts high school for me. Now, the story gets even better, because I still had my anger issues. I was still depressed. And I'll never forget going to this performing arts high school. I had a lot of hair. I had my sideburns, my goatee. It was like 50 pounds lighter. And I got angry one day. And I went into a practice room and went to go play drums. So I was angry, and I went into the room. And a teacher comes in and says, Mike, that sounds really good. Can we use that in a concert? Okay. A few weeks later, angry, practice room. And the teacher comes in the room and says, can I hire you to play with my band this weekend? So now, I'm not going to the hospital anymore for flipping out. Not only do people like it, but they want to give me money. This is cool! So I decided to become a professional drummer, not because it's cool, and really it's actually not that cool. A lot of times I'm stuck in Los Angeles airport at 2 a.m. with a bunch of boxes by myself, wondering why I got myself into this. And that's really the most fun part about it. But I play drums because it makes me feel good. So fast forward to today, one of the things that I do at most conferences, this is actually the only conference where I don't have a drumming workshop. All my other conferences, I bring in like 100 drums and have a big party. No, it's okay. We were already booking stuff for this year, and it was already set. We might do it next year. But the reason I do the drumming with other people is because I work with residents in New York State and in homes, and I work with other people who have challenges like me. And I learned something about the drums that I didn't even realize, why the drumming works. It's because I call it the 3 Bs, belonging, bonding, and believing. We all have this innate desire to belong to something, you know? Even if we want to belong to the group of kids that thinks they're separate from everybody, we still want to belong to something. And when I get to drum with people, I get to belong, they get to belong. Number 2 is we get to bond. And people love bonding. But when they belong and when they bond, they're open to believing in themselves and believing in others. And that's why I do the drumming. So I just wanted to share that with you, with my drumming. And if you have any questions on that, you can ask me about it after. I think I left a few of you the yellow program cards. I apologize I didn't have enough, so I scattered them around. But I want to talk to you about stigma. Because even though I'm doing well today, my only outbursts are pretty much what you saw up there. Okay, occasionally I send some like nasty texts to friends, we get into fights. But that's it. I don't have a police record or anything. I hang out with people. Women seem to like me now. That's cool. They feel safe with me. And I'm just checking my watch so I don't go over time here and I want to leave time for questions. But I want to talk to you about transforming the stigma surrounding mental health into a strength. And what I mean by that is that if you are going through issues with yourself, if you're depressed, you've got anxiety, you're bipolar, you need help, I'm going to help you deal with it right now. I'm going to give you some things that have really worked for me. Here are the 3 things that I learned, and they're on the back of my business card if you have it. Number 1 is that whether you work with people who have challenges or you have challenges, doesn't matter. You need to take care of yourself. Number 2, no matter how you feel about your own challenges or others' challenges, you've got to keep it in the conversation. And number 3, you have to look for teachable moments. Let me start with number 1, taking care of yourself. Author Anais Nin said it best that we don't see life as things are, we see life as we are. So when you take care of yourself, you can influence others. I always say, people like yourselves deal with the 3 P's at work: pressure, politics, and paperwork. Am I right? And you might even love your job. You might be very committed to it. But you can get burnt out pretty easily. So if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to get burnt out and you're not really going to have influence over anyone. So keep that in mind. You have to find your way of taking care of yourself. My way is different. I go out and get sun. Yesterday I had to go out into the sun. I'm always in hotels and airports. It's important that I do that. I play the drums. I exercise. I want to share an interesting story about taking care of myself. And this is really a true story. This is before my hamster died. I had a leak in my apartment in New York City. And leaks can be very annoying. And the person above me was not answering his or her door. So the leak is getting worse and worse. And I'm putting notes under the door, knocking at the door, knocking at 4 a.m., everything I can do. No one knows who lives up there. So I go to the landlord, and I'm like, there's a problem. You gotta find this person. The landlord didn't even have the phone number. New York City. So I'm getting angry because I travel about 2 weeks out of the month. I come back to see the hamster and check on him, but I came home one day and the ceiling had fallen on my hamster's cage. And my hamster, I told you how vicious he was. He looked upset and scared. So I took his cage and I apologized to him. I don't know if he understood it, but moved him into another room, and I was pissed. My ceiling had fallen. I don't got time for this. So my anger was really shooting up. And I took a walk to the coffee shop, tried to calm down, and I was still pissed. So now I got caffeine in me and I'm angry, right? This is not gonna turn out good. So I get the call from this guy. And he sounded real arrogant. He's like, "Hi, I'm the guy from upstairs. I want to meet you." "Want to meet me? You better meet me. I'm ready for a fight." So I walk from the coffee shop to my apartment. I am seriously about to punch this guy. This is not cool. So I'm walking to the apartment, not caring about getting arrested. Who cares what conferences I got to speak at? I don't care. Get to the apartment, and standing in front of me is a 6'5" German bodybuilder. Now it's amazing how things change. I was like, "Man, who are you? I've never seen you." become a trainer. Okay, can I show you the leak? So, I'm like, I'm not believing this, and I ask him his name, and as he's looking at the leak, I'm texting my friends saying, you won't believe this. Like, Mike, what are you talking about? He's talking smack. And so he apologized. He said, I'll give you a free consultation. I said, okay, we'll talk about working out. So I didn't think anything of it. I Googled the guy, you Google everybody, right? And he's one of the top 5 trainers in New York. This guy's a fitness model. I'm like, what the heck? Right? So New Year's comes around, and like everybody, I made my resolutions. I decided I want to look a little better, right? I want to look good so I can go to the club, right, and shake my stuff. So I decided I'm going to be with the trainer. He owes me. Stupid leak, messing with my hamster. So I'm in this bodybuilding gym in New York, face to face in this small room with this guy who's looking at me very awkwardly. And I told him the truth. I like bacon, cheese, and garlic, and I don't want to give that up. I was like, just make me buff. We don't need to go through much to help me out here, right? Give me a quick fix. Give me some exercises. So he's just staring at me, and I'm feeling this is getting really awkward. And he says, Mike, I gotta tell you something. I said, what? He goes, I go to your blog, Transforming Stigma, and I'm a subscriber. It's like, oh, the mental health stuff. Yeah. You have something you want to talk about? And he said, yes. I'm bipolar, and I struggle with anxiety. And people think because I have no body fat, and I'm a fitness model, that everything's okay. And he said, I read all your articles where you talk about your anxiety and your anger. And he hands me this piece of paper. Here's your workout, and here's your nutrition plan based on your mental health issues. I was like, oh, we're getting real. And he said, I'd like you to start taking magnesium, because they give that to women when they're in labor to relax them. It will help you relax. All my workouts have to start with me doing a chest exercise to relax my anxiety. And I have to get sun every day to keep myself happy. And he constantly checks in with me as I'm traveling. Last night I was eating a steak down in the bar. I swear he's like got people out to get me. He texts me, he's like, oh, how's traveling going? And it's like, You watch me? But the thing that I learned was that when I started taking care of myself, I started feeling better about myself. And I was better able to serve other people. I had better influence over other people. I had more clarity. So it's important to find your way of taking care of yourself. Got it? Number 2, you gotta keep the subject of mental health in the conversation. One of the things I do not like about doing conferences, it's like, in the conference we talk about all this stuff. Then we go out of the conference and it's like, shh, don't talk about that, back to work. And that's a problem. We have to talk about this stuff at all times. I decided to try an experiment. I decided to spend a year introducing myself to people as a person who's mentally ill. I just want to see what happened. I just want to see, let me try. And I don't ever use the term mentally ill. I want to see what people like run from me, what they do. So every person I met, no matter what state I was in, I was like, hi, my name is Mike. I'm mentally ill. I'd be at a bar. Hey, how you doing? I'm mentally ill. So what was interesting was the response that I got. Not a single person ran from me. Some people hugged me. Some people started crying. A lot of people said, thank you for sharing that. And I actually got hired for more work as a drummer and hit on by more women than I ever had in my life. And I realized why. It's not because of the fact that I was saying I was mentally ill. It was that I was comfortable with myself. I'm okay with it. And I realized that for many years I wasn't okay with it. You can't tell anybody about that. My parents would say, if you told anybody about this and they're going to hire you for stuff, Mike, no. So I felt comfortable with myself. There are many things that we want in legislation. We're always fighting for stuff. Better laws around housing, better laws around this. And one thing I've learned about life is that if you keep things in the conversation, you will eventually get legislation. Case in point, gay marriage. Whether you support it, whether you're against it, it doesn't matter. It's getting legislation because people keep it in the conversation. Everyone understand that? As I'm standing up here and you're looking at me, what do you see? Do you see a bald man with a Madonna microphone? Do you see a bald African American man? Do you see a bald African American man in a suit? I don't know what you see. You might see any of those, you might see none of those. But let's just say for a moment, you say that you see a bald African American man on stage. It's okay to call me African American in 2014. 10, 20 years ago, there were different words you could use to describe someone of my race that would probably be considered inappropriate today, correct? And the whole issue of race in our country did not start with, oh, we gotta change labels. It started with a conversation. And when you start things with a conversation, that leads to education and legislation. So keep that in mind, that when it comes to mental health, by just having the conversation, even if it's uncomfortable, it's okay. Everyone got that? Yeah. I was actually on a movie set in Los Angeles. My friend had invited me to the movie set. And he said, Mike, you can meet the director. And I was like, yeah. And he said, the only thing is I gotta wear a suit jacket. I don't like wearing a suit jacket. So I wore my suit jacket, and they even let me sit in the chair, like the director's chair, and they let me look at the script. And they asked for my opinion. I felt proud. And this was actually last spring. And so I'm reading the script, and they said, Mike, what do you think? And I was like, can I really just say what's on my mind? And I did, and they took notes. I was like, whoa, this is cool. So afterward, the director and myself and my friend were all chatting with a bunch of us about what we do in our lives. And everyone's going around the room introducing themselves. I see my friend kind of looking at me as they're about to get to me, right? I understand this is his work, you know, like he supports the whole stigma thing, but so we get to me, and I say, well, I'm mentally ill. I got a lot of problems. I go to therapy once a week, and I try to help people. And I hit stuff. And you know when it gets like real awkward, right? The funniest thing happened though. Everyone's looking around like, And the director goes, Mike, I'm mentally ill too. And I was hospitalized. And he started getting emotional talking about it. And everyone's looking at the two of us like, what? But a few weeks later, my friend emails me and says, thank you so much for sharing that. You lightened up the energy and the tension that was on that set because you talked about it. So it's okay to have the uncomfortable conversation. Everyone got that? The other thing I wanted to say is I was in an elevator in New York City. It's kind of like the elevator at this hotel, real small, real old. And I had anxiety. And it was making funny sounds and stopping like not fully on the floor, kind of like that elevator out there. And this woman gets on the elevator. And she smiles at me, just says hello, and I'm like, hi. And I was like, yo, this building is shady. And she goes, yeah, I know, I work here. Whole elevator conversation here. And I was like, oh, what do you do? She goes, I'm a therapist. And I'm like, oh, I'm mentally ill, can I have your card? And she's been my therapist ever since. I'm okay talking about it. I think it's important to talk about it. So number one, take care of yourself. Number two, keep it in the conversation. Number three, look for teachable moments. Chances are, there's someone in this room going through some real crap in their life. But one of the best ways to help yourself is to help someone else. That's why 12-step programs are so successful. You help yourself through helping others. That crap, sorry for having to use that word, that you're going through can really be a teachable moment for someone else. I had a wonderful meeting with the sponsors that work with me. I have a lot of sponsors because I do a lot of work. Even a beverage company I was working with for a while. And we were having a meeting. And of course, when they get to me to talk about what I do, it gets real awkward. And one of the executives came up to me after a meeting and said, "Can I talk to you in the hall for a second?" And told me about all the challenges he's going through with his own mental health. And thanked me, and we've become friends ever since. So, number one, take care of yourself. Number two, keep it in the conversation. And number three, look for teachable moments. And this applies to you, whether it's you going through a challenge or you being a resident service coordinator and working with people who have challenges. Does everyone understand that? Yes. So I need you to make a promise to me. Can you make me a promise? I need you to, in the next week, find 3 things you can do to take care of yourself. I need you to find 3 things that you can do to force mental health into the conversation when you're hanging out with your friends. And 3, I need you to look for teachable moments. So can you repeat after me? Can you say, "I will take care of myself.
I will take care of myself.
I will keep mental health in the conversation.
I will keep mental health in the conversation.
I will look for teachable moments.
I will look for teachable moments."
You're a nice guy, Mike.
You're a nice guy.
Thank you. And before I end, I just want to say that in my back table, I think most of you took my business cards, but if you want to contact me, I actually do drumming in residences. I speak around the country. If I can be of help to you, I also train staff with drumming, so I do a lot of staff trainings in corporate America. Actually, one of my favorite groups to train was the Wounded Warrior Project. I got to train some of their executives. But if we can look at mental health for a moment, similar to breast cancer, 25 years ago, you couldn't talk about breast cancer. It was like a hush-hush topic. And I actually opened up a speech a few weeks ago. Talk about getting a shock reaction. I opened it up like this. I just said, "Feel your boobies," right? And they all looked at me like, "What?" And that's actually the name of the breast cancer campaign. And it's okay to talk about now. And I hope that we can get there with mental health. So in a lot of ways, we're in a movement similar to the civil rights movement. But before I end and take some questions, I wanted to share one story with you. If you think about the civil rights movement, the person who's the face of starting it is this woman by the name of Rosa Parks, correct?
Yes.
And if memory serves me correctly, Rosa refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, I learned something about Rosa. Rosa got arrested because of this. 5 years prior to Rosa, several other blacks got arrested for doing the same thing. So why do we only know about Rosa Parks? Interesting. Well, I found out something. When Rosa got arrested, she was friends with everyone in the town of Birmingham, Alabama. So this wasn't a black person who broke the law getting arrested. This was my friend Rosa got arrested. So everyone was just pissed off in Birmingham, Alabama. She was known throughout the community of Birmingham as a person who took care of herself, kept things in the conversation, and always found teachable moments. Interesting, right? And the story gets even better. She got one of the wealthiest lawyers in Birmingham to help her out. Called this lawyer and said, we got to organize a boycott. We got to do something. So the lawyer's on it. So he calls this church, gets the pastor on the phone, says to the pastor, we got to meet at your church. We got to have a boycott meeting. And the pastor says, no, my schedule is packed. I mean, I understand it, but we can't do it. So the lawyer starts to get frustrated and get his lawyer on. No, we really need to have this meeting at your church. They're fighting back and forth now. And the guy says, I really can't. And finally, the lawyer goes, listen, Dr. Martin Luther King, whether or not you like it, we're coming to your church. My name is Mike Veny. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. Before we get going, I left a few minutes for questions. Some of you might have some questions. If you want to even not ask me publicly, you can always email me or call me. But does anyone have any questions before we head on out? Yes?
I just want to give accolades to your parents.
You want to give accolades to my parents? Can you write them a letter? If you write them a letter, that'd be great. Sometimes they still worry about me. You have a question in the back, yes? Say that again? Can I play some drums for you? On the stage? Okay, I'll try to not break anything here. I never got that as a question before, thank you.
I came to this training today just because Mike was going to be here.
He basically essentially changed the tone of the room from let's think seriously about things and worry a little bit to let's feel happy.
I mean, a lot of it comes down to finding that creative outlet to express yourself, work through your issues, get out your anger.
Very often, those of us either in the helping profession are so busy doing many things we don't take time to take care of ourselves.
I felt of all of the presenters who was the most lively, really just full of life, engaging, quick to the point. It was something that I think everyone left feeling very positively about.
Let's feel positive and let's treat our mental health challenges as something that is an intrinsic part of ourselves.
Keep the conversation around disability going so that we can achieve our goals of full inclusion.
I'm going to start taking better care of myself as a promise to him.